Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Thought Channel. Tonight we're exploring the power of belief and the strange way it can shape the world around you. A belief can feel like a thought, but inside the brain, it can become something more active. It can guide attention, it can change expectation, and it can influence how the body prepares for what comes next. This is why belief has fascinated doctors, psychologists, philosophers, and scientists for generations. It sits at the meeting point between mind and body. It can comfort us, it can mislead us, and it can help us endure more than we thought possible. Some beliefs begin with evidence, others begin with trust, and some are learned so early that they feel like part of reality itself. Tonight, we will look closely at this hidden force. We will explore how it shapes health, memory, fear, and confidence, and the core stories that people live by. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here to one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your shoulders soften, allow your breathing to slow. And as your mind begins to loosen its grip on the day, join me as we explore the power of belief together. Let's begin. Belief can change the body before medicine even begins. Before a tablet is swallowed or a treatment is given, the brain may already be preparing the body for what it thinks is about to happen. This begins with meaning. A white coat, a clinical room, a trusted voice, and even the familiar shape of a pill can signal that help is coming. The body responds to those signals with real chemistry. Heart rate can settle stress, can lower attention, can shift away from danger and toward recovery. This does not mean belief can replace medicine. It means the human body is deeply responsive to context. When the mind expects relief, the nervous system can begin adjusting before the treatment itself has had time to act. That is what makes belief so strange and powerful. It is not only an opinion floating in the mind under the right conditions. It becomes a biological event. The story surrounding a treatment can become part of the treatment itself. A harmless pill can reduce pain when the brain expects relief. Imagine being given a pill with no active drug inside, then feeling pain fade anyway. This is one of the clearest demonstrations of the placebo effect. The pill itself may be chemically empty, but the situation around is not empty at all. The brain recognizes the active treatment and begins to predict improvement. In response, it can release its own pain-dampening chemicals. These include natural opioids and other messengers that help turn down the volume of discomfort. The effect is not imaginary. Brain scans have shown changes in regions involved in pain, emotion, and expectation. The person is not pretending, and the relief can be measurable. What makes this so fascinating is that pain is not a simple signal from the body. It is an experience built by the brain. When expectation changes the brain's interpretation of danger, the feeling itself can soften. Belief does not erase pain, it can help reshape it. Expecting harm can make real symptoms appear from nothing. The placebo effect is the darker twin of the placebo effect. It happens when a person expects something unpleasant, and the body begins to produce that unpleasant experience. Someone warned about nausea may start to feel sick. Someone told a treatment might cause a headache, may feel pressure building in the skull. Nothing harmful needs to enter the body for this to happen. The expectation alone can activate stress pathways, sharpen attention toward normal sensations, and make harmless signals feel threatening. This can create a loop. The person notices a small bodily feeling, interprets it as a warning sign, and their nervous system reacts more strongly. The symptom then becomes more convincing. Medical researchers take this seriously because it affects how side effects are explained. Patients deserve honest information, but the way risk is communicated can change how the body responds. Fear is not just a thought in the body, it can become sensation. Confidence can improve performance before skill has even changed. A person's ability does not always shift first. Sometimes the first change is belief. When someone feels capable, they often stand differently, breathe more steadily, and commit more fully to the task in front of them. That can improve performance immediately, even before any new skill has been learned. Confidence helps attention stay with the challenge instead of splitting toward worry. It can reduce hesitation at the exact moment when action matters. In sports, music, public speaking, and exams, this difference can be visible within seconds. The muscles may be the same, the knowledge may be the same, yet the performance can change because the brain stops treating the situation as a threat. This does not make confidence magic. False confidence can lead to mistakes, but grounded confidence is a powerful amplifier. It helps the body use what it already knows. Sometimes belief does not add new ability. It allows existing ability to finally appear. The brain treats some beliefs like predictions about reality. The brain is not a camera but simply records the world. It is always making predictions. It guesses what will happen next, then compares those guesses with incoming information. Some beliefs work like high-level predictions. They help the brain decide what matters, what to ignore, and how to interpret uncertain signals. If someone believes a room is unsafe, every creak may seem important. If someone believes they are welcome, the same room may feel calm. The sensory information can be nearly identical, but the meaning changes. This is why belief can feel so convincing from the inside. The brain does not present every guess as a guess. Often it presents the result as reality. Scientists call this predictive processing, and it has become an important way to understand perception. What we experience is shaped by the meeting of evidence and expectation. The world enters through the senses, but belief helps decide what that world becomes. The doctor's warmth can strengthen the effect of a treatment. The human side of medicine can change how treatment is experienced. When a clinician seems attentive and reassuring, the patient's brain may register safety before anything else happens. That sense of safety matters. It can lower stress, increase trust, and make the treatment feel more credible. In studies of placebo responses, the manner of the person giving care can influence the outcome. A rushed interaction may leave the body guarded. A calm and respectful one may help the nervous system relax enough to receive the experience differently. This does not mean kindness cures disease by itself. It means care is partly biological. Words, tone, eye contact, and patience can all become signals that the body is not alone in the problem. In that moment, the treatment carries more than chemistry. It carries confidence. A warm medical encounter can make science feel personal, and that personal meaning can become part of how healing begins. Rituals can make belief feel physical, steady, and real. A ritual gives belief a shape that the body can recognize. It may be a repeated routine, before a performance, a familiar practice, before sleep, or a ceremonial act that marks an important moment. The power often comes from structure. The same steps happen in the same order, and the brain begins to associate them with readiness. This can reduce uncertainty. When uncertainty drops, the body often becomes less tense. Athletes use rituals before competition. Patients follow routines around medication. Communities gather around shared ceremonies. Because action can make meaning stronger, a thought alone may feel fragile. A repeated act can feel anchored. The fascinating part is that the ritual does not always need a direct physical mechanism to have an effect. Its predictability can change attention, emotion, and expectation. The body learns the pattern. Over time, the pattern becomes a signal. Belief moves from an idea into posture, breath, and behavior. Belief can shape memory without anyone realizing it happened. Memory feels like a recording, but it behaves more like a reconstruction. Each time a memory is recalled, the brain rebuilds it using stored details, present emotions, and current beliefs. That means what a person believes now can quietly influence what they think happened then. This can happen without dishonesty. A person may sincerely remember an event in a way that fits the story they already carry. Suggestion can make this even stronger. If someone is told that a detail was probably present, the mind may later include it with surprising confidence. This is why eyewitness memory can be fragile. It is also why family stories can shift over time as they are repeated. The mind wants coherence. It wants the past to make sense with the present. Belief helps provide that shape. The result can feel vivid and certain. Yet certainty is not always proof. Memory is alive and belief can become one of its editors. Hope can alter stress chemistry in measurable ways. Hope is often described as emotional, but it can reach into the body's stress system. When people believe a difficult situation may improve, the brain can appraise the challenge differently. Instead of preparing only for threat, it may prepare for coping. That shift matters because stress chemistry is guided by interpretation. Cortisol and adrenaline rise when the body expects danger, but the pattern can change when the mind sees a path forward. Hope can also support healthier behavior. A hopeful person may follow treatment more consistently, rest more carefully, or keep trying after setbacks. Those actions then create real physical consequences. This makes hope more than wishful thinking. It is a mental stance that can organize the body toward endurance. It does not guarantee recovery, and it should never be used to blame people who suffer. But as a biological signal, hope can tell the nervous system that the future remains open. The mind can mistake expectation for evidence. Expectation can arrive so quickly that it feels like proof. If someone expects a sound in the dark, a faint noise may seem meaningful. If someone expects a medicine to work, a small improvement may feel like confirmation. The brain is built to connect patterns because that helps us survive in uncertain situations. But the same skill can mislead us. Once an expectation is active, attention begins searching for matching details. Details that fit become easier to notice. Details that do not fit may fade into the background. This creates a powerful illusion. A person feels as if the world is confirming the belief, when the belief is partly choosing the evidence. Scientists study this through perception, decision-making, and memory research. It explains why people can disagree strongly while looking at the same situation. We do not only gather facts and then believe. Very often belief guides the search before we know the search has begun. Placebos can work even when patients know they are placebos. For a long time, people assumed a placebo needed deception. The patient had to believe the pill was real medicine or the effect would vanish. Then researchers tested a surprising idea. What happens if patients are told the truth? In open-label placebo studies, people are given pills and clearly told that they contain no active drug yet. Some still report improvement. The explanation may lie in the ritual of treatment itself. Taking a pill at a certain time, receiving care, and engaging with a credible medical process can still activate learned patterns in the brain. The body has a history with medicine. It knows what treatment usually means. Even without deception, the act can carry expectation, attention, and hope. This is important because it suggests placebo responses do not depend only on being fooled. They may also depend on conditioning and meaning. The body can respond to a symbol even when the mind understands the symbol. The nocebo effect shows that fear can become biology. Fear is meant to protect us, but it can also recruit the body into a false alarm. In placebo responses, a warning can become a trigger. The brain hears that something might go wrong, then begins scanning the body for signs. Normal sensations that would usually pass unnoticed can suddenly feel significant. A flutter in the stomach becomes nausea, a light pressure becomes pain, a moment of tiredness becomes a suspected side effect. Stress chemicals can rise muscles' contents, and the nervous system can amplify the very feelings the person fears. This is not weakness, it is a defense system doing its job too intensely. The placebo effect matters in medicine, workplaces, schools, and everyday life. Because suggestion can shape experience, a frightening message can make the body brace for impact. Once the body braces, the danger feels more real. This is one of belief's most sobering powers. Fear can cross the line into physiology. Pain relief can come from the brain's own opioid system. Inside the body is a pain control network that can produce chemicals related to morphine. These natural opioids help regulate suffering during injury, stress, and intense exertion. Placebo research revealed something astonishing about this system. When people expect pain relief, the brain can sometimes release these internal painkillers. The relief may then be blocked by drugs that interfere with opioid receptors, which shows that the effect is not merely a mood change, it has a chemical pathway. This discovery transformed how scientists understood belief. Expectation could reach into ancient survival machinery and change how pain was processed. The brain was not pretending the pain was lower, it was actively altering the experience through its own pharmacology. This helps explain why context matters so much. A treatment room, a trusted explanation, or a familiar pill can become a signal that relief is possible. The body hears that signal, then answers with chemistry it already carries within itself. Parkinson's symptoms can improve after patients expect treatment. Parkinson's disease affects movement. Part 2. Because dopamine systems in the brain become disrupted, that makes placebo responses in Parkinson's especially fascinating. In some studies, patients who believed they were receiving an active treatment showed temporary improvement in movement. Brain imaging suggested that dopamine was being released in response to expectation. This does not mean belief reverses the disease. It means expectation can briefly engage the same chemical system that the condition affects. The effect can be powerful enough to change visible symptoms for a short time. For researchers, this opened a remarkable window into how belief interact with brain chemistry. The patient's expectation did not remain a private thought. It reached the motor system. It influenced circuits involved in movement, reward, and anticipation. Parkinson's placebo research is often described as some of the strongest evidence that belief can become measurable biology. It shows the brain responding not only to drugs, but also to the meaning of receiving care. Belief can influence how strongly the immune system responds. The immune system may seem separate from thought, but it listens closely to the nervous system. Stress, expectation, and learned associations can all influence immune activity. One famous line of research showed that the body can learn to connect to taste with an immune-suppressing drug. Later, the taste alone could trigger a related response. This is called conditioned immunomodulation, and it reveals something remarkable. The immune system can be trained by experience. Belief itself does not command immune cells like a general. The process is more subtle. The brain interprets signals, sends messages through hormones and nerves, and the immune system adjusts. This helps explain why chronic stress can affect vulnerability and recovery. It also shows why positive expectations may support health indirectly through behavior and physiology. The immune system is not floating alone inside the body. It is part of a conversation. Belief can enter that conversation by changing the body's sense of safety or threat. Expectations can change how sweet or bitter food tastes. Taste begins on the tongue, but it is completed in the brain before food even reaches the mouth. Expectation is already preparing the experience. Packaging, smell, color, price, and memory can all influence what the brain predicts. If a drink is expected to be sweet, the sweetness may feel stronger. If something is labeled as bitter or medicinal, the same flavor can seem harsher. This is not simple imagination. Taste is a multi-sensory construction. The brain blends signals from the tongue with smell, texture, sight, and prior belief. That is why a dessert can taste richer in a fancy setting, or why a familiar family recipe can feel more satisfying than its ingredients alone. Explain expectation gives flavor a frame. It tells the brain what kind of experience is likely to arrive. Then the brain helps build that experience. Every meal is partly chemistry, partly memory, and partly prediction. Belief sits quietly at the table. Price can make identical medicine feel more powerful. Two pills can contain the same inactive ingredients, yet people may feel a stronger effect from the one they believe is expensive. This has been shown in placebo research, where price changes expectation. A higher cost often signals quality, strength, and credibility. The brain uses those signals to predict a more powerful result. That prediction can shape the experience that follows. In pain studies, an expensive-looking placebo can sometimes produce greater relief than a cheaper-looking one. The effect reveals how deeply economic meaning enters biology. Price is not only a number on a package, it can become a cue that changes trust. The body does not know the manufacturing cost. It responds to what the mind thinks the cost means. This is why medical design labeling and presentation can matter more than we expect. The treatment's physical ingredients are important, of course, but the story around those ingredients can influence how the patient feels them working. Branding can change what people believe they are experiencing. A logo can carry memory, trust status, and expectation before a product is even used. That is the power of branding. The brain learns associations over time and applies them quickly. A familiar name may make a person expect reliability. A premium design may make them expect comfort. A trusted label may make a product feel more effective. This can influence taste tests, pain studies, consumer choices, and even how people judge their own reactions. The remarkable part is that branding can change subjective experience. While the physical item stays the same, people are not necessarily lying when they say the branded version feels better. Their brains may be interpreting the experience through a learned expectation. Branding works because belief is not separate from perception. It helps build perception. Every color, name, and design choice becomes part of the signal. The object enters the senses, but the brand enters the meaning. Together, they shape what experience becomes. A fake surgery once improved knee pain in real patients. One of the most striking placebo studies involved patients with knee pain who believed they had received surgery. Some had the actual procedure, others had only small incisions and the sound of an operation. While no therapeutic repair was performed later, many patients in the sham surgery group reported improvement. Some functioned better too. The results shocked people because surgery feels so physical and mechanical. Yet pain and mobility are also shaped by expectation, rehabilitation care, and the meaning of having been treated. This study did not show that surgery is useless. It showed that some procedures may contain a large contextual component, especially when outcomes depend on pain perception. It also raised serious ethical questions. Deception in medicine is not acceptable as ordinary practice. But scientifically, the case was extraordinary. It revealed how powerful the surrounding ritual of intervention can be. The body responded to the story of repair, even when the repair itself had not occurred. Open-label placebos reveal how ritual can still matter. When patients knowingly take a placebo, something surprising can still happen. The honesty does not always destroy the response. This suggests that treatment rituals have their own force. Swallowing a pill, following instructions, meeting a caregiver, and committing attention to recovery can all shape the body's expectations. The person may think this contains no active medicine, while the brain still recognizes a familiar pattern. That pattern says care is being given. It says change may follow. It says the body should pay attention. Open-label placebo research is especially interesting because it avoids deception. It asks whether meaning alone can help. In some conditions, studies have found improvements in symptoms such as discomfort or fatigue. Effects vary, and they are not replacements for real treatment. Still, they reveal a deep truth about healing. Human beings do not respond only to molecules. We respond to context, relationship, repetition, and meaning. Ritual can speak to biology, even when everyone knows what it is. Trust can make medical care feel safer and more effective. Trust changes the meaning of treatment before the treatment reaches the body. When a patient believes the person caring for them is competent, honest, and attentive, the whole experience becomes less threatening. That sense of trust can reduce vigilance. A body no longer has to scan every sensation as a possible danger. It can settle into cooperation. This matters because medicine is not received by a machine. It is received by a nervous system that is always asking whether the situation is safe. A blood test, an injection, or a difficult diagnosis can feel very different depending on whether the patient feels respected. Trust can also improve follow-through. People are more likely to take medicine, properly return for appointments, and describe symptoms clearly when they believe they are being hurt. In that way, trust becomes practical as well as emotional. It builds a bridge between scientific treatment and human experience, allowing care to reach the patient more fully. Anxiety can weaken the benefits people expect from treatment. A worried mind can interfere with relief before it has a chance to arrive. Anxiety makes the brain monitor the body more intensely, searching for signs that something is wrong. This can compete with the expectation of improvement. Instead of receiving treatment as a signal of safety, the nervous system treats the whole situation as uncertain. Muscles tighten, breathing may become shallow, small sensations become louder because attention keeps returning to them. This can reduce the positive effect that expectation might otherwise create. It can also make side effects feel more likely, even when the treatment itself is harmless or helpful. That is one reason calm explanation matters so much in care. A person who understands what is happening may have more room to feel reassured. Anxiety does not mean someone is resisting healing. It means their threat system is active. When fear fills the space where confidence might have grown, the body may struggle to accept the message that help is already underway. Reassurance can quiet the body's alarm system. A few carefully chosen words can change the way the body interprets distress. When someone is frightened by a symptom, the nervous system may treat that sensation as a warning. The more threatening it feels, the more intensely the body watches it. Reassurance can break that loop. It gives the brain a new interpretation. The sensation may still be present, but it no longer has to mean danger. This can lower arousal throughout the body. Heart rate may steady, breathing may become easier. The person may stop bracing against every small change. Good reassurance is not empty comfort. It is clear, honest, and specific enough for the mind to use in medicine, parenting, crisis support, and everyday friendship. This matters deeply. A calm explanation can become a signal of safety. Once the body accepts that signal, it may reduce the alarm it has been sending. Sometimes relief begins when fear is given a better story. Belief can change how intensely the brain registers pain. Pain is not only a message from injured tissue, it is a judgment made by the brain about threat, attention, and meaning. This is why the same sensation can feel different in different circumstances. A runner may notice a make only after the race ends. A child may feel a scrape more sharply when adults react with panic. A patient may tolerate discomfort better when they believe it is part of recovery. Belief changes the frame around the signal. If the brain decides a sensation is dangerous, it may amplify it. If the brain decides the sensation is manageable, it may soften it. This does not make pain unreal. It makes pain more fascinating. It is a living experience shaped by body and mind together. Brain regions involved in emotion, attention, and expectation all help create the final feeling. Belief can turn the dial, not by denying the signal, but by changing what the signal means. Athletes may perform better after thinking they took caffeine. Caffeine is famous for sharpening energy, but expectation can sometimes borrow part of its reputation in performance studies. Athletes who believe they have taken caffeine may push harder even when they have not. Their bodies are responding to a prediction. They expect alertness, so they may become more willing to tolerate effort. They expect strength, so they may commit more fully to a lift or sprint. The fascinating part is that the muscles do not need a new chemical ingredient for the performance to shift. Belief can change motivation, pacing, and perceived fatigue. An athlete may feel that the task is slightly more possible, and that feeling can affect the result. This does not mean caffeine itself is irrelevant. It has real physiological effects, but the belief surrounding it can add another layer. The mind keeps a memory of what stimulants are supposed to do in the right moment. That memory can help the body reach further. A lucky charm can increase confidence during difficult tasks. A small object can become powerful when it carries a history of success. A coin, bracelet, keyring, or piece of clothing may seem ordinary to anyone else. To the person who trusts it, the object becomes a reminder of competence. Research on superstition has shown that people can perform better when they believe a lucky item is helping them. The charm does not bend reality. It changes the person's relationship with the challenge. Confidence rises, doubt may soften, the task can feel less lonely because the object carries a sense of support that can improve persistence and attention. The charm works as a cue, not a spell. It tells the brain, I have done this before, I can do it again. This is why luck often attaches to objects present during meaningful moments. Belief turns memory into a tool. The charm does nothing by itself, but the mind can use it to unlock steadier action. Superstitions can improve focus when people feel uncertain. Uncertainty is uncomfortable because it leaves the brain without a clear path. Superstitions offer a pattern when the outcome feels uncontrollable. A performer may tap a doorway before going on stage. A student may use the same pen for every exam. A goalkeeper may follow the same steps before a penalty kick. These actions can narrow attention and reduce mental noise. The person stops spinning through possibilities and enters a familiar sequence. That sequence can feel stabilizing. It gives the body something to do while the future remains unknown. Of course, superstition can become limiting if a person feels helpless without it, but in mild forms, it can function like a focus tool. The action creates rhythm. The rhythm supports readiness. The fascinating part is that the belief may work partly because it gives uncertainty a boundary. When life feels random, even a simple routine can help the mind feel organized enough to perform. Belief in ability can predict persistence after failure. Failure does not end a task by itself. The meaning of failure often decides what happens next. When someone believes they can improve a setback, may feel like information. It shows what needs more practice. It may sting, but it does not close the door. When someone believes ability is fixed, the same setback can feel like a verdict. It seems to say this is not for you. That difference can shape persistence more powerfully than talent at the beginning. A child learning an instrument, an adult changing careers, or an athlete recovering from defeat may all face the same question. Is this difficulty a wall, or is it part of the path? Belief helps answer that question. It can keep effort alive long enough for real skill to grow. Many achievements are not built from constant confidence. They are built from the belief that the next attempt still matters. Self-efficacy became one of psychology's most powerful ideas. Self-efficacy is the belief that you can take action and influence an outcome. It is not the same as general confidence. It is more specific and more practical. A person may lack confidence in public speaking, yet feels strong self-efficacy in solving technical problems. The concept became central because it helps explain why people begin difficult tasks, how much effort they invest, and whether they continue. When progress is slow, it can affect health, behavior, education, therapy, parenting, and work. Someone who believes their actions matter is more likely to try. Each successful attempt then strengthens the belief, creating a loop that supports growth. The opposite can also happen. Repeated failure can teach a person that effort is useless even when change is possible. That is why small wins matter. They give the brain evidence. Self-efficacy turns belief into movement. It is the inner sense that effort can reach the world and make a difference. Students can improve when teachers truly expect them to grow. A teacher's expectation can enter a classroom in subtle ways. It may appear in the difficulty of questions the patience given after mistakes, or the amount of time allowed for an answer. Students often feel these signals when a teacher expects growth. The student may receive more encouragement, more challenging work, and more chances to recover from errors. Over time, those differences can shape achievement. The powerful idea is not that expectation alone makes knowledge appear. It is that expectation changes behavior. A student treated as capable may begin to act more capable because the environment keeps inviting effort. This can be especially important for children who have already learned to doubt themselves. A trusted adult's belief can become borrowed confidence until the student builds their own. Education is full of facts and skills, but it is also full of signals about who belongs. When those signals say you can grow here, the mind may open wider. The Pygmalion effect shows expectations can shape achievement. The Pygmalion effect is named after an old story about a sculptor whose creation seemed to come alive. In psychology, it refers to a striking pattern. Expectations held by one person can influence another person's performance. Classic classroom research suggested that when teachers were led to expect unusual growth from certain students, those students sometimes improved more than others. Later researchers debated the size and boundaries of the effect, but the central insight remained. Powerful expectations are not locked inside the person who holds them. They leak into tone, attention, feedback, and opportunity. They can change how long someone is allowed to struggle before help arrives. They can change whether a mistake is treated as evidence of weakness or part of learning. This makes the effect both hopeful and sobering. The beliefs of authority figures can become part of someone else's environment. What we expect from people may help shape the conditions in which they become themselves. Stereotypes can harm performance simply by becoming mentally active. Sometimes a belief does not have to be personally accepted to cause harm. It only has to be present in the mind. Stereotype threat happens when someone fears being judged through a negative stereotype about their group. That fear can take up mental space. At the worst possible time, a student may spend energy worrying about confirming a stereotype instead of focusing on the exam. A speaker may monitor every word instead of thinking freely. The burden is not lack of ability. It is the added pressure of being seen through a harmful expectation. This can raise stress and disrupt working memory. The effect shows how social beliefs can enter individual performance. A stereotype may seem like an idea outside the person, but in a high-stakes moment, it can become an extra weight inside the task. Removing that weight can allow ability to show more clearly. Belonging is not a luxury. It can protect attention. Belonging can change whether a challenge feels possible. A difficult task feels different when someone believes they belong in the room. Belonging tells the nervous system that struggle is not proof of exclusion. It says that confusion, effort, and imperfection are allowed here. Without that belief, the same challenge can feel like evidence that one has been found out. This is why belonging matters in schools, workplaces, science, sports, and creative fields. People do not only ask, "Can I do this?" They also ask, often silently, "Am I the kind of person who is allowed to try?" When the answer feels yes, effort becomes easier to sustain. Feedback may feel less like rejection. Setbacks may feel less personal. Belonging changes the meaning of difficulty. It gives people room to learn without defending their right to be present. A door may be open in practical terms, but belief decides whether someone feels able to walk through it. Growth mindset research changed how many schools discuss effort. The idea of a growth mindset gave teachers a new language for learning. Instead of treating intelligence as something fixed, it framed ability as something that can develop through practice, strategy, feedback, and time. This changed how many classrooms talked about mistakes. Errors could become clues rather than signs of failure. Effort could become part of growth rather than proof that someone was not naturally talented. The idea became famous because it was simple and hopeful. Still, it is often misunderstood. Praising effort alone is not enough. A student can work hard in the wrong direction and remain stuck. The deeper message is that effort needs guidance. Good teaching, useful strategies, and honest feedback matter. The beauty of the idea is that it gives difficulty a new meaning. A hard problem no longer has to say you cannot do this. He can say your brain is still building the path. Fixed beliefs can make mistakes feel like personal proof. When someone believes ability is fixed, a mistake can feel dangerous. It is no longer just a wrong answer, a missed note, or a failed attempt. It can feel like evidence about identity. The mind may say, "I am not smart enough," or "I am not built for this." That interpretation can shut learning down. Instead of studying the mistake, the person tries to escape the shame of it. They may avoid challenges, hide confusion, or choose only tasks where success is already likely. This protects self-image in the short term, but it limits growth over time. A fixed belief turns every test into a trial of worth that is exhausting. It makes curiosity risky. By contrast, a more flexible belief can make mistakes useful. The arrow becomes a map of what needs attention. The same moment that once felt black proof of limitation can become the beginning of improvement. Belief in improvement can make practice feel worth continuing. Practice is often boring before it becomes beautiful. The early repetitions can feel clumsy, slow, and unrewarding. What keeps a person going is often the belief that the work is changing something. A pianist repeats a difficult measure because they believe the fingers will learn. A basketball player shoots again because they believe accuracy can sharpen. A language learner struggles through sentences because they believe fluency is built slowly. Without that belief, repetition feels pointless. With it, repetition becomes investment. The future self feels real enough to work for. This is one of belief's most practical powers. It gives meaning to effort before results are visible. The brain may not yet hear the smoother performance or see the stronger body, but belief allows the person to continue long enough for those changes to emerge. Practice asks for patience. Belief supplies the reason to return tomorrow. Confidence can steady attention under pressure. Pressure does not only test skill, it tests attention. In a high-stakes moment, the mind can scatter toward consequences. What if I miss? What if I fail? What will they think? Confidence helps attention return to the task itself. A confident performer is not necessarily free from nerves. They may still feel the body's charge, but they interpret that energy as readiness rather than danger. That interpretation matters. It keeps the mind from over-controlling actions that should flow from training in sports. Overthinking a practiced movement can disrupt timing in speaking. Worrying about every sentence can make the next sentence harder to find. Confidence acts like a stabilizer. It tells the brain that the moment can be handled. This allows attention to remain where performance actually happens, not in the imagined judgment of others, not in the feared result, but in the next movement, the next breath, the next choice. Doubt can consume mental energy before a task begins. Doubt often arrives before the challenge itself. It begins running simulations of failure. It asks questions that have no useful answer. What if this goes badly? What if I am not ready? What if everyone notices? These thoughts may feel like preparation, but they can drain the very resources the task requires. Working memory has limited space. If that space fills with self-monitoring and fear, there is less room for problem solving. This is why doubt can make a familiar task feel suddenly harder. The person is not less capable. They are carrying an extra mental load. Doubt also changes the body. It can tighten muscle speed breathing and make attention jumpy. By the time the task begins, a person may already feel tired from battling a future that has not happened. The hidden cost of doubt is that it spends energy in advance. Belief can matter because it protects the mind's working space. Performance rituals help the mind enter a prepared state before difficult moments. Many people repeat the same small actions. A tennis player bounces the ball in a familiar rhythm. A singer loosens the jaw before stepping into sound. A speaker touches their notes and takes a measured breath. These routines do not guarantee success, but they help the mind cross a threshold. Ordinary time becomes performance time. The ritual tells the brain that wandering is over and focus is beginning. This can be especially useful when pressure is high. A practiced sequence reduces the number of decisions that must be made. It gives the body a familiar track to follow. The mind can settle into readiness instead of chasing every possible outcome. Over time, the ritual becomes linked with past performances. It carries the memory of preparation. When repeated, it can help summon the same state again. The action may look small from outside, but inside, it can mark the moment when belief becomes discipline. Visualization can strengthen skills when paired with real practice. To imagine a movement carefully is not the same as doing it, but it is not nothing. When people visualize a skill in detail, the brain can activate parts of the same networks used during performance. This is why mental practice can support physical practice. An athlete may picture the arc of a jump. A dancer may rehearse a sequence without moving. A musician may hear the timing before touching the instrument. The key is precision. Vague daydreaming does little player. Mental rehearsal can strengthen timing confidence and familiarity. It works best when combined with real training because the body still needs feedback from muscles, balance, and touch. Visualization can prepare the map, but physical practice walks the road. The fascinating part is that the brain treats imagined action as meaningful information. It can rehearse possibilities before the body spends energy. Belief gives the rehearsal emotional force, making the future action feel more reachable. Mental rehearsal activates some circuits used during physical movement. The boundary between imagining and doing is thinner than it feels. When a person vividly rehearses an action, the brain can light up in areas involved in planning and controlling movement. The muscles may stay still, but the nervous system is not idle. It is simulating. This helps explain why mental rehearsal is used by athletes, performers, pilots, and patients recovering movement after injury. The brain can practice the order, timing, and intention of an action before the body completes it. In rehabilitation, this can be especially meaningful. A person who cannot yet move fully may still engage the networks connected to movement. The rehearsal keeps the pathway active. It does not replace physical recovery, but it can support it. This shows how belief and imagination can become tools of preparation. The mind can run a version of action internally, like a flight simulator for the body. Stillness in that moment may contain hidden practice. Musicians can improve by silently practicing complex passages. A musician can sit without an instrument and still be working in silent practice. The player hears the passage internally, feels the imagined motion of the hands, and follows the structure of the music in the mind. This kind of rehearsal can be surprisingly powerful because music is both physical and mental. Fingers must move, but the brain must know where the phrase is going. Silent practice can reveal weak spots that ordinary repetition hides. If a player cannot imagine the next note clearly, the body may not truly know it either. Great performers often use this method when travel fatigue or injury limits physical playing. It lets them refine memory without wearing out the muscles. The audience never sees these hours, but they may hear the result. A passage that once felt crowded can become orderly. The hands later arrive at the instrument with a map already waiting. The leaf turns in a hearing into disciplined work. Surgeons sometimes use mental rehearsal before delicate procedures. Before entering the operating room, a surgeon may review the procedure in the mind with extraordinary care. They may imagine the first incision, the anatomy they expect to see, the possible complications, and the steps needed if something changes. This is not fantasy, it is preparation for precision. Surgery leaves little room for confusion, and mental rehearsal can help organize attention before the pressure begins. By walking through the procedure internally, the surgeon builds a sequence. Each step becomes more familiar. The mind is less likely to freeze when the real moment arrives. This practice is similar to what elite athletes do, but the stakes are different. The performance is not for applause, it is for safety. The belief underneath is simple, and serious preparation can reduce error. The procedure begins before the tools are lifted. It begins when the expert mind quietly enters the problem, rehearses the path, and becomes ready to act. Belief can help the brain choose what to notice. The world contains far more information than the mind can hold at once. Every moment brings sounds, colors, movements, sensations, and meanings. Attention has to choose. Belief helps guide that choice. If someone believes a friend is upset, they may notice a pause in the conversation that otherwise would have passed by. If someone believes an opportunity is possible, they may notice an opening that others overlook. This can be useful, but it can also distort. A suspicious belief may make neutral details seem threatening. A hopeful belief may make small progress stand out more clearly. The brain is not simply receiving the world, it is filtering the world through what it thinks matters. This filtering happens so smoothly that it feels like ordinary noticing. But behind the scenes, belief is acting like a spotlight operator. It brightens some details and leaves others dim. What we see is partly shaped by what we are ready to find. Confirmation bias makes supporting evidence feel strangely satisfying. There is a particular pleasure in finding information that agrees with what we already believe. The mind feels a tiny click of recognition. It says, "There it is. I was right." That feeling can be rewarding enough to keep people searching in one direction. Confirmation bias is the tendency to notice, remember, and value evidence that supports existing beliefs while treating conflicting evidence with suspicion. It is not limited to foolish people. It is a normal feature of human thinking. The brain likes coherence. Contradiction requires effort. Supporting evidence feels smooth because it fits the existing story. This can help people move quickly through complex world, but it can also trap them. A person may build a fortress of selected facts and never realize what has been left outside. The strange power of confirmation bias is emotional as well as intellectual. Agreement feels good. That feeling can make belief harder to examine, even when truth needs more courage. People often protect beliefs that support their identity. Some beliefs are not just opinions, they are part of a person's sense of who they are. When a belief is tied to identity, disagreement can feel like attack. The brain may respond defensively, not because the evidence is weak, but because the self feels threatened. This can happen with politics, religion, family history, moral values, or even favorite communities. The belief becomes woven into belonging to question. It may feel like risking exile from a group or betrayal of the past. That is why facts alone do not always change minds. A fact may be heard as a demand to become a different kind of person. This makes identity protective thinking one of the strongest forces in belief. The mind guards the stories that make life feel stable. Change becomes possible, but it often needs safety first. People are more willing to reconsider when they do not feel that their entire self is on trial. A belief can survive facts when it carries belonging. Facts are powerful, but belonging can be stronger in the moment. A person may hold on to a belief because it connects them to people they love, trust, or depend on. To let go of the belief may feel like stepping away from the group. This is why correction can fail when it threatens social connection. The mind is not only asking, is this true? It may also be asking, what will happen to me if I stop believing it? That question can be deeply human. For most of history's survival depended on staying close to the group. Beliefs often served as social bonds. Even today, shared views can signal loyalty and safety. A belief supported by belonging can survive contradiction because the cost of changing it feels emotional and relational understanding. This does not mean accepting falsehood. It means recognizing why patience matters. To change a belief, people may need a new place to belong. Group belief can make ordinary symbols feel powerful. A flag is fabric, a ring is metal, a certificate is paper. Yet under the force of shared belief, ordinary objects can carry enormous meaning. People may stand for one symbol, weep over another, or protect a third with fierce devotion. The object itself has not changed. What changes is the agreement around it. A group teaches its members what the symbol means, and the meaning becomes emotionally real. This is one of humanity's great abilities. We can invest physical things with invisible significance, then coordinate behavior around them. Symbols can unite strangers, mark promises, and preserve memory across generations. They can also divide because different groups may attach different meanings to the same object. The power is not in the material, it is in the shared belief that gathers around it. When many minds treat a symbol as important, the body responds as if that importance can be touched. Shared myths can hold communities together across generations. A myth is not simply an untrue story in many cultures. It is a carrier of meaning. It explains where people came from, what they value, and how they should live. Shared myths combine the community across time because they give each generation a common inheritance. Children hear the story before they fully understand it. Adults return to it during ceremony, conflict, or grief. The details may change, but the emotional structure remains. This can create continuity, even when the world around the group changes dramatically. Myths can teach courage, caution, loyalty, or humility through memorable narrative rather than direct instruction. They make values easier to remember because the values are carried by characters and events. Science asks whether claims are testable. Myth asks what a story does inside a people. The power of shared belief is that a story can outlive its original tellers and still shape the choices of those born long after. Money works because millions believe in its value. A banknote has little practical use by itself. You cannot eat it, build a shelter from it, or use it as medicine. Yet people will exchange food, labor, land, and time for it because they trust that others will do the same. Money is one of the most successful shared beliefs in human history. Its power depends on collective confidence. When that confidence is strong, a small piece of paper or a number on a screen can move goods across continents. When confidence weakens, the same symbol can lose value with frightening speed. This makes money both ordinary and astonishing. It is a belief system backed by institutions, laws, habits, and memory. Everyone participates because everyone expects others to participate. The value is not hidden inside the object. It lives in the network of trust around it. Money shows that belief can organize entire civilizations, shaping daily life through a story people agree to treat. As real nations depend on stories that people agree to honor. A nation is not only land, buildings, borders, or government offices. It is also a shared belief that millions of strangers belong to the same larger story. Most citizens will never meet one another, yet they may feel connected through flags, history, language, law, and memory. This shared story can be powerful enough to organize armies, collect taxes, build schools, and preserve public institutions across centuries. The remarkable part is that the belief must be renewed constantly. Children learn it in classrooms, adults encounter it in ceremonies. Leaders invoke it during crisis, ordinary. People carry it when they vote, serve, protest, or celebrate. This story can be noble, flawed, contested, or changing, but it still shapes behavior in the real world. A country exists on maps, but it also exists in minds. When enough people agree to treat that story as meaningful, it becomes capable of moving resources, guiding sacrifice, and shaping the future. Laws gain strength when societies believe they are legitimate. A law written on paper has no power unless people believe the system behind it deserves obedience. Police, courts, and penalties matter, but fear alone cannot hold a society together for long. Legitimacy is the deeper force. It is the belief that rules were created through a process people can accept, even when they dislike the outcome. When legitimacy is strong, most people follow laws, even when no one is watching. They stop at red lights on empty roads. They pay taxes they would rather keep. They accept court decisions because they believe the structure matters. When legitimacy weakens, enforcement becomes harder. Every rule begins to feel like force instead of agreement. This is why justice must not only be done, it must also be seen to be done. Belief turns law from command into order. It allows a society to function through shared trust rather than constant supervision. Culture teaches the mind which beliefs feel obvious. Every person is born into a world already full of meanings before we can question them. We absorb ideas about manners, time, family, beauty, fairness, and success. These beliefs often feel natural because they will learn it before we knew they were beliefs at all. Culture works quietly through repetition. It teaches what counts as respectful. It teaches when to speak, when to wait, and what emotions are acceptable to show. A custom that feels normal in one place may feel surprising in another, yet both can seem obvious to the people raised inside them. This is one of belief's most powerful disguises. It can appear as common sense only when we travel, read history, or meet people shaped by different assumptions. Do we realize how much of reality has been taught? Culture gives the mind a starting map. We may redraw part of that map later, but we rarely begin with blank paper. Childhood beliefs can become the quiet furniture of adulthood. The earliest lessons of life often remain in place long after we forget learning them. A child who grows up hearing that the world is dangerous may become an adult who feels uneasy even in safe rooms. A child who is trusted with responsibility may carry a lasting sense of capability. These early beliefs can become familiar structures inside the mind. They shape what feels possible, what feels risky, and what kind of treatment feels normal. Because they were formed so early, they can be difficult to notice. They're not always spoken as thoughts. They may appear as instincts, preferences, or sudden emotional reactions. Therapy and reflection often work by bringing these hidden assumptions into awareness. Once seen clearly, they can sometimes be changed. Childhood does not write the entire future, but it can furnish the inner world. Some beliefs become chairs we keep sitting in simply because they have always been there. Repeated messages can start to feel more truthful. The mind has a strange relationship with familiarity. When a statement is heard again and again, it can begin to feel easier to process. That ease may be mistaken for truth. This is one reason. Slogans, rumors, and repeated claims can become persuasive even without strong evidence. The brain often uses fluency as a shortcut. If something feels familiar, it may feel less risky and more believable. Advertisers, propagandists, and storytellers have all understood this in different ways. Repetition does not make a claim true, but it can make it feel settled. The danger is that a false idea can gain emotional weight simply by returning often. The hopeful side is that helpful beliefs can also be strengthened through repetition. A recovering patient, a student, or a performer may slowly build confidence by hearing and practicing a more accurate message. Repetition is like a path through grass. The more often it is walked, the easier it becomes to follow. Familiarity can make a claim seem safer than accuracy. A new idea often asks the brain to work harder. A familiar one arrives smoothly. That smoothness can create a feeling of safety, even when the idea itself has not been checked. This is why people may prefer a familiar explanation over a more accurate but unfamiliar one. The familiar claim feels comfortable because the mind has handled it before. It does not create the same friction in everyday life. This can shape everything from product choices to political opinions. A name heard many times may seem trustworthy. A phrase repeated by friends may feel dependable. A story passed through a community may feel safer than a correction from outside it. The brain is trying to conserve effort, but the shortcut can mislead. Accuracy requires more than recognition. It requires evidence. Familiarity is useful when it helps us navigate quickly, but it becomes risky when it dresses uncertainty in the clothes of truth. The illusory truth effect turns repetition into confidence. When people hear the same statement repeatedly, they often rate it as more believable later. This happens even when the statement is not true. Psychologists call this the illusory truth effect, and it reveals a deep vulnerability in human judgment. The mind tends to confuse ease with reliability. A repeated sentence becomes easier to read, easier to remember, and easier to accept. That feeling can quietly transform into confidence. The effect is especially powerful when people are distracted or tired, because careful evaluation requires energy. It helps explain why misinformation can be so stubborn. A false claim may be corrected, yet it keeps circulating. Its familiarity may continue to grow. A lesson is unsettling but useful. Feeling certain is not the same as being right. Sometimes certainty is only the echo of repetition. To think clearly, we have to ask not just whether an idea feels familiar, but where it came from. Rumors spread faster when they match existing beliefs. A rumor that fits what people already suspect can move with remarkable speed. It does not have to overcome much resistance because it feels plausible from the beginning. If a group already distrusts a leader, a negative story about that leader may spread quickly. If people already fear a threat, a frightening claim may seem believable before anyone checks it. The rumor slides into a space the mind had prepared for it. This is why false stories often attach themselves to existing anxieties. They borrow strength from beliefs that are already present. Social sharing a BS. Another force passing along. Rumor can feel like warning others, proving loyalty, or making sense of confusion. By the time evidence arrives, the story may already have emotional roots. Rumors are not random sparks. They find dry ground and expectation. Once they land there, they can grow into something people defend because it seems to explain what they already felt. Belief can travel through families without being spoken directly. Not every family belief is delivered as a clear sentence. Some are carried in habit silences, reactions, and rituals. A child may learn that money is dangerous because adults become tense whenever bills arrive, and other may learn that feelings should be hidden because sadness is quickly changed into jokes. A family may never say do not trust outsiders, yet the message can appear in every story told at the dinner table. These beliefs are absorbed through atmosphere. They shape what children expect from relationships, conflict, success, and safety. The powerful thing is that adults may pass them on without realizing it. They are repeating what once surrounded them. This can create patterns across generations. Some patterns protect, others confine. Change often begins when someone notices the invisible inheritance and asks whether it still belongs. Families give us more than names and memories. They can hand down entire ways of believing the world works. Placebo responses appear in animals through learned expectation. Animals cannot be persuaded by a medical explanation, yet their bodies can still learn that certain signals predict relief. A dog that receives an active treatment after a particular routine may later respond. When the routine appears again, the body has formed an association. The setting, smell, handling, or taste becomes linked with what followed before. This shows that some placebo-like responses do not require language or conscious belief in the human sense. They can arise through learning the know. The system detects patterns and prepares for expected outcomes. In veterinary research, this matters because animals may improve partly through conditioning, not only through the treatment being tested. It also helps explain why human responses can be so deep. Our expectations are built from words, memories, relationships, and repeated bodily experience. The animal example strips the process down to something ancient. A body learns that one event predicts another, then begins responding before the second event arrives. Dogs can learn the treatment rituals predict relief. A dog does not understand the prescription label, but it can learn the rhythm of care. The sound of a cupboard opening, the touch of a familiar hand, or the taste of a medicated treat can become meaningful through repetition. If those signals are followed by reduced itching, less pain, or calmer breathing, the animal's body may begin to anticipate relief. This anticipation can change behavior. The dog may settle sooner, resist less, or show signs of comfort before the active ingredient has reached its full effect. The process is not imagination, it is conditioning. The brain links cues with outcomes and prepares the body accordingly. This makes animal medicine a fascinating window into beliefs. Biological roots, human beings, add language and culture to the process, but underneath, we share an older learning system. The body remembers what helped before. When the same pattern returns, it begins to respond as if help is already on its way. Belief may begin as prediction, not conscious choice. We often talk about belief as if it were the decision in real life. Many beliefs form before deliberate choice enters the picture. The brain is constantly predicting what is likely based on experience. If a child is repeatedly comforted, the world may begin to feel dependable. If a person is often rejected, future kindness may feel suspicious. These expectations become beliefs because they organize perception and action. The mind does not need to announce them. It simply starts living through them. This makes belief feel less like a sentence we choose and more like a forecast the brain keeps updating. Some forecasts are helpful, others are outdated. A belief formed in one chapter of life may continue long after the environment has changed. Understanding belief as prediction can make change feel more possible. The question becomes not why did I choose this, but what did my brain learn to expect? New experiences can teach the forecast to shift. The brain constantly guesses what the world will do next. Every second the brain is making predictions. It guesses where a moving object will be, what a voice will say next, and how the floor will feel under the next step. This is not a side activity. It is central to perception. The brain has to predict because the world arrives too quickly to process from scratch. Prediction makes experience smoother. It helps us catch a ball, understand speech, and walk through a room without examining every surface. Most of the time, the guesses are so good that we do not notice them. We experience the result as reality. When a prediction is wrong, surprise appears. A stare is lower than expected. A familiar voice says something unexpected. The brain then updates. Belief grows from the same predictive machinery. The belief is like a larger guess about how things work. It helps the mind prepare for the future before the future has arrived. Prediction errors help the mind update its beliefs. A prediction error occurs when the world does not match what the brain expected. These moments can be powerful because they force the mind to choose. Should it change the belief or explain away the mismatch? Small errors happen constantly. A door is heavier than expected. A friend reacts differently than usual. A plan fails in a surprising way. Each mismatch carries information. When the brain trusts the information, it can update its model of reality. This is how learning happens. A child discovers that a stove can be hot. A scientist changes a theory after a result does not fit. The person slowly learns that a feared situation is safer than they thought. But belief does not always update easily. If the old belief is tied to identity or fear, the mind may resist the correction. Prediction errors are invitations to learn. Whether we accept the invitation depends on how much safety the mind feels while being wrong. Strong expectations can make ambiguous sensations feel definite. The body is full of signals that are unclear until the mind interprets them. A flutter in the chest, a shift in temperature, or a brief ache can mean many things. When expectation is strong, the brain may settle the meaning quickly. A person who fears illness may read a harmless sensation as a warning. Someone expecting excitement may feel the same bodily arousal as energy. The sensation itself is ambiguous. Belief supplies the label. Once the label is applied, the feeling can become more intense. The brain begins to gather supporting details. A body reacts to the interpretation. This can make a vague sensation feel certain. It is one reason emotions can be hard to separate from bodily states. The body sends raw information, but the mind gives it a story. Strong expectations make that story arrive faster. The result feels definite. Even when the original signal is open to several meanings, the same heartbeat can feel frightening or comforting. A racing heart is not one experience. Its meaning depends on the story around it. During a panic episode, a fast heartbeat may feel like danger. On the dance floor, it may feel like joy. During exercise, it may feel like strength. The physical rhythm can be similar, yet the emotional experience changes because the mind interprets the signal differently. This shows how belief and context shape bodily awareness. The heart does not explain itself. The brain asks what situation it is, and then decides what the pounding means. That decision can change what happens next. If the heartbeat is labeled as danger, fear may rise, and the heart may race even more. If it is labeled as effort or excitement, the person may feel capable. This is why learning about body sensations can help some people manage anxiety. They discover that a strong heartbeat is not always a threat. Sometimes it is simply the body preparing for life. Belief can influence whether stress feels harmful or useful. Stress is often treated as an enemy, but the body's stress response can also prepare us to act. It sends energy to muscles, sharpens attention, and helps us respond to challenge. The belief we hold about stress can shape how we experience that response. Someone believes stress is purely damaging. Every sign of arousal may become another reason to worry. If someone sees stress as the body mobilizing resources, the same sensations may feel more manageable. This does not mean all stress is good. Chronic strain can harm health, but in a specific challenge, interpretation matters. A pounding heart can mean failure is coming, or it can mean the body is supplying fuel. That difference can affect confidence, behavior, and recovery. Belief changes the frame. It tells the mind whether to fight the stress response or work with it. Sometimes the body's alarm is also an engine. Stress mindset can change how people respond under pressure. People differ not only in how much stress they face, but in what they believe stress means. A stress's debilitating mindset treats pressure as something that drains, damages, and overwhelms. A stress's enhancing mindset treats pressure as something that can sharpen focus and support action in demanding moments. These mindsets can influence performance, emotional recovery, and even the way people interpret bodily arousal. Imagine two speakers waiting backstage. Both feel their hearts beat faster. One thinks I am falling apart, the other thinks my body is getting ready. The physical signal may be similar, but the response can diverge. The second speaker may step forward with more steadiness because the sensation has been given a useful meaning. This idea must be handled carefully. It should not be used to dismiss exhaustion or hardship, but it reveals a powerful truth. Under pressure, belief can become part of the pressure system itself, shaping whether energy feels like threat or support. Optimism is linked with healthier long-term habits. Optimism is not a guarantee that life will go well. It is a tendency to believe that worthwhile outcomes remain possible, that belief can influence daily choices in ways that add up over years. Optimistic people may be more likely to seek help early, follow medical advice, stay socially connected, and return to healthy routines after setbacks. The power may come less from cheerful thoughts and more from persistence. If the future feels open, effort feels useful. If effort feels useful, a person is more likely to keep investing in their own well-being. This can create a chain of practical benefits. A walk is taken, an appointment is made, a difficult conversation is attempted. None of these actions is dramatic by itself, but together they can shape health. Optimism does not remove grief, risk, or illness. It gives the mind a reason to participate in the future. That reason can become a habit of care. Hope can help patients endure difficult treatments. Treatment can be frightening when the path is long or uncomfortable. Hope does not make the process easy, but it can make endurance possible. A patient who believes there is a meaningful chance of benefit may tolerate uncertainty with more strength. They may return for another appointment, take another dose, or complete another exercise because the effort is connected to a possible future. Hope also changes attention. It does not erase pain or fear, but it places them inside a larger frame. The hardship becomes part of movement towards something, rather than only something being suffered. This matters deeply in chronic illness rehabilitation and recovery after injury. Hope must be honest to be helpful. False promises can wound people, but realistic hope can steady them. It gives shape to the next step when the whole journey feels too large. In medicine, hope is not a decoration added to science. It is one of the ways people carry science through time. Meaning can make pain easier to tolerate. Pain becomes harder to bear when it feels pointless. When discomfort has meaning, people may endure more than they expected. A marathon runner accepts burning muscles because the pain belongs to a chosen goal. A parent may tolerate exhaustion because care for a child gives it purpose. A patient may face rehabilitation pain differently when it is understood as part of rebuilding strength. Meaning does not turn pain into pleasure. It changes the relationship with it. The mind can place the sensation inside a story that says this is difficult, but it is not empty. That story can reduce fear and increase willingness to continue. In laboratory studies, in real life, perceived control and purpose can influence pain tolerance. The body still sends signals, the brain still receives them, but the interpretation changes. Pain without meaning can feel like invasion. Pain with meaning can feel like effort, sacrifice, or passage. Belief gives suffering a frame. Belief in purpose can support resilience during hardship. Purpose gives hardship a direction. When people believe their actions serve something larger than immediate comfort, they may recover from setbacks with greater determination. This can happen in care, giving, creative work, public service, faith, education, or personal healing. Purpose does not remove suffering, it organizes it. A person facing difficulty may still feel afraid, tired, or uncertain, but the question shifts. It is no longer only how do I escape this? It becomes why is it worth continuing? That question can be powerful. It connects present effort to a larger value. Resilience is often misunderstood as toughness. In reality, it can be a form of attachment to meaning. People keep going because something matters. The belief that life has purpose can also help people rebuild after loss. It offers a thread through confusion. The thread may be thin at first, but it can guide action until strength begins to return. Faith can comfort people by giving suffering a framework. For many people, faith offers more than answers. It offers a way to hold pain without being alone with it. A difficult event can feel unbearable when it seems random and empty. Faith conditions often place suffering inside a larger moral or spiritual frame. That frame may include endurance, compassion, mystery, forgiveness, or trust. The comfort does not always come from certainty. Sometimes it comes from belonging to a story that has carried others through darkness before. Prayer, scripture, worship, and community can give people language when ordinary explanations fail. This can reduce isolation. It can also help people act with dignity in circumstances they cannot control. Faith should not be used to minimize grief or deny medical care. At its best, it helps people remain human inside suffering. It gives the mind a structure strong enough to lean on when life feels unsteady, and it reminds the heart that pain is not the whole story. Prayer can reduce loneliness for many believers. Loneliness is not only the absence of people, it is the feeling of being unseen. For many believers, prayer creates a sense of being heard, even in private. The room may be empty, but the act can feel relational. Person speaks fears, gratitude, regret, or longing into a presence they trust. That can change the emotional experience of solitude. Prayer may also connect the individual to a wider community, even when practiced alone. The words may have been spoken by generations before. The ritual may be shared across distance. This gives the lonely mind the sense of continuity. Psychologically, prayer can slow thought, organize emotion, and give distress a place to go. Spiritually, it can feel like contact. The meaning depends on the believer, but the comfort can be real. In a world where many people suffer silently, prayer can offer a form of companionship that is intimate, familiar, and deeply sustaining. Sacred rituals can calm the body through rhythm and attention. A sacred ritual often asks the body to slow down and follow a pattern. The voice may repeat familiar words, the hands may move in unknown sequence, the breath may settle into the pace of the ceremony. This rhythm can influence the nervous system. Repetition reduces uncertainty because the next step is expected. Attention gathers around the present action. The body receives signals that this moment is held by meaning and structure. Across cultures, rituals have helped people mark birth, loss, commitment, and transition. They do not only express belief, they also train the body to enter a state of reverence or calm. Even a simple ritual can become powerful through repetition over years. The same words, the same posture, the same shared silence can carry memory. Sacred practice shows how belief can be embodied. Meaning is not left in thought alone. It is breathed, spoken, and performed until the body recognizes it. Meditation changes experience party by reshaping belief about thoughts. Many people begin meditation believing every thought deserves attention. A worry appears, and the mind follows it. A memory appears, and the body reacts. Meditation can slowly change that relationship. It teaches the person to notice a thought without treating it as a command or a fact. This shift is subtle but profound. The thought still arises, but its authority weakens. A fear can be seen as a mental event. A craving can be observed as a passing wave of sensation of the time. This can change emotional experience. A person may not stop thinking. Instead, they stop believing every thought with the same intensity. This is one reason meditation can help with stress and self-regulation. It creates a space between awareness and reaction. That space gives choice room to appear. The practice is not about emptying the mind. It is about learning that the mind stories are not always the whole truth. Hypnosis shows attention can make suggestions feel deeply real. Hypnosis is often misunderstood as loss of control, but it is better understood as a focused state in which suggestion becomes unusually influential. The person's attention narrows outside distractions, fade, imagination becomes more vivid. In that state, a suggestion can shape experience in striking ways. The person may feel an arm grow heavy, sense warmth in the skin, or perceive discomfort differently. The effect depends on responsiveness, trust, and context. It is not magic, and it does not make people helpless puppets. It reveals how flexible experience can be when attention and belief align. Hypnosis has been used in pain management, anxiety reduction, habit change, and medical procedures for some patients. Its power comes from the mind's ability to translate suggestion into sensation. Under focused conditions, an idea can feel less like a thought and more like something happening in the body. Hypnosis makes visible a truth that is usually hidden. Attention helps build reality. Hypnotic suggestion can reduce pain. For some people under hypnosis, pain can sometimes be softened by changing how the mind relates to it. A clinician might guide someone to imagine coolness, distance, numbness, or a dial turning down for a responsive person. These suggestions can alter the felt intensity of pain. The body may still be sending signals, but the brain processes them differently. This has been used during dental work, childbirth preparation, burn care, and certain medical procedures. The effect is not identical for everyone. Some people are highly hypnotizable, while others respond modestly or not at all. Still, the results can be remarkable. When it works, the person is not pretending. Brain studies suggest changes in networks linked to attention and pain processing. Hypnosis shows that pain is not fixed at the site of injury. It is shaped by interpretation, focus, and expectation. When suggestion changes those ingredients, the final experience can change too. The mind becomes part of the pain system. Expectation can shape what people remember from hypnosis. After hypnosis, people may feel that memories recovered during the session are unusually vivid or meaningful. That feeling can be powerful, but it can also be misleading. Memory is reconstructive, and hypnosis can increase confidence without guaranteeing accuracy. If a person expects hidden memories to emerge, the mind may generate images, impressions, or stories that feel real. Suggested questions can make this more likely. This is why responsible clinicians are careful. Hypnosis can help with relaxation, focus, and symptom management, but it is not a perfect truth machine for the past. The fascinating issue is the difference between vividness and accuracy. A memory can feel detailed and still be distorted. A person can be sincere and still be mistaken. Expectation guides the search, then confidence can seal the result. Hypnosis reveals how easily memory, imagination, and belief can blend. Past does not always return as a recording. Sometimes it is rebuilt under the influence of what the mind expects to find. Placebo sleep can improve alertness after people believe they rested. Sleep is physical, but our belief about sleep also matters. In a remarkable experiment, people were told that a device had measured how much deep sleep they had received. Some were informed that their sleep quality was excellent, even when that information was not truly based on their night. Afterward, they performed better on certain attention and thinking tasks. The belief that they had slept well seemed to improve how alert they felt and how effectively they performed. This does not mean sleep can be replaced by positive thinking. The body still needs real rest, but it shows that expectation can shape the waking experience of energy. If someone believes they are exhausted beyond repair, they may enter the day already defeated. If they believe they are reasonably restored, they may engage more fully. Placebo sleep reveals a surprising layer of the mind-body relationship. Even after the night is over, belief can influence how rested the day feels. Sleep quality beliefs can affect mood the next morning. The story you tell yourself about the night can shape the way the morning feels. Two people may sleep for the same amount of time, yet wake with different expectations about the day ahead. One thinks that was enough, the other thinks I am ruined. Body may then follow the meaning attached to the night. A person who believes the sleep was poor may notice heaviness more strongly. They may interpret ordinary grogginess as proof that the day will be difficult. That interpretation can lower mood before anything has happened. This does not mean sleep is only a matter of attitude. Real sleep loss affects attention, health, and emotional balance, but belief adds another layer. It can amplify tiredness or soften it. The morning mind is suggestible because it is already emerging from a vulnerable state. What we believe about our rest can become part of how restored, capable, and steady we feel. Belief about aging can influence health behavior over decades. Aging is biological, but it is also surrounded by expectation. If a person believes later life means helpless decline, they may become less active long before their body requires it. You may avoid exercise, accept discomfort as inevitable, or stop pursuing new skills because they think change belongs only to the young. Another person may see aging as a stage, still allows strength, curiosity, and purpose. That belief can lead to different choices repeated across years. They may keep walking, keep learning, keep seeking care, and keep investing in relationships. Over time, those choices matter. Beliefs about aging can shape posture toward the future. They can influence whether symptoms are treated, whether mobility is protected, and whether the person expects life to remain meaningful. The body still changes. No belief cancels time, but the mind's picture of aging can either narrow the path ahead or leave more of it open. Positive age beliefs are linked with longer life. Some of the most intriguing aging research suggests that people who hold more positive views of later life tend to live longer than those with strongly negative views. The effect is not mystical. A healthier view of aging may influence daily behavior, stress, and willingness to seek support. Someone who expects older adulthood to include value and possibility may continue to protect their health. They may recover from setbacks with more determination because they do not see decline as the only story. Positive age beliefs can also reduce the internal weight of stereotypes. If a person expects forgetfulness, weakness, or invisibility, they may interpret every difficulty as confirmation. If they expect growth in wisdom and adaptation, the same difficulty may become a problem to solve. The difference can accumulate quietly. Longevity is shaped by genes, environment, healthcare, and chance. Yet belief may still matter because it helps decide how a person lives inside the years they are given. Believing exercise counts can change health markers. Movement does not always look like a gym session. It can be hidden inside work chores, walking routes, and daily care. In a famous study, hotel housekeepers were told that their physically demanding work already met recommended exercise levels. After learning this, some showed improvements in measures such as weight, blood pressure, and body fat. Their jobs had not changed. What changed was the meaning of their effort. They began to see ordinary labor as healthful activity rather than invisible exhaustion. This may have influenced behavior in subtle ways. They may have moved with more intention or noticed their bodies differently. The finding is powerful because it shows how recognition can change the body's relationship with action. Many people move more than they think, yet dismiss it because it does not match the cultural image of exercise. Belief can turn overlooked effort into something the mind values, and what the mind values may shape the body's response. Hotel workers improved health after learning their work was exercise. The housekeepers in that study were not handed new equipment or placed on a new training plan. They were given a new interpretation of what they already did. Making beds, lifting linens, vacuuming floors, and moving through rooms required sustained physical effort, yet many did not think of it as exercise. Once researchers explained that the work counted toward an active lifestyle, the women began to view their days differently. Their bodies had been working all along, but their belief had not recognized the work as health behavior. That shift appeared to matter. It suggests that the labels we place on activity can influence motivation, awareness, and physiological response. A staircase may feel like an inconvenience or a small act of fitness. A busy shift may feel only draining or also strengthening. The body performs the movement, but belief helps assign its meaning. Sometimes health begins with noticing that effort was already there. Food labels can change hunger hormones after the same meal. A drink can enter the stomach with the same ingredients, yet the body may respond differently, depending on what the label suggests. In one study, people consumed the same milkshake on different occasions. One label described it as indulgent and rich, another made it seem light and sensible. The actual drink did not change, but the body's response did. Hunger-related hormones shifted more strongly when people believed they had consumed the more indulgent version. This is astonishing because it suggests that metabolism is not only reading calories, it is also influenced by expectation. The brain interprets the meal before the body finishes processing it. That interpretation can help regulate satisfaction. A food described as hearty may feel more filling. A food described as restrictive may leave someone searching for more. Labels do not create nutrients from nothing, but they do shape the meal's meaning. The body listens to that meaning more closely than we might expect. A milkshake can feel more filling when described as indulgent. The same creamy drink can create two different experiences if the mind is given two different stories. When people think they are consuming something decadent, they may feel more satisfied afterward. The word itself changes the frame. Indulgence suggests richness, fullness, and permission to feel treated. A diet label can do the opposite. It may make the body expect restraint. That expectation can leave the person scanning for hunger sooner, even if the ingredients are identical. This shows how eating is not only mechanical. Appetite is built from taste, memory, social meaning, and prediction. A meal can be physically present, yet psychologically incomplete if the mind does not believe it was enough. This helps explain why restrictive eating can feel so difficult. The body is reacting to more than food it is reacting to. The story attached to food label can whisper to the brain before the first sip, and the brain may answer through hunger. Wine tastes better when people believe it costs more. A higher price can change the pleasure people expect from a drink. In experiments, volunteers have tasted the same wine while being told different prices. When they believed it was more expensive, many rated it as more enjoyable. Brain activity connected with reward also changed. The liquid itself was not different. The experience was price, acted like a signal of quality, and the brain used that signal while building the flavor. This does not mean people are foolish. Taste is deeply influenced by context. A glass poured in an elegant room may feel different from the same glass in the plastic cup. The mind brings expectation to the tongue. Expensive often means rare, careful, or superior. So the brain prepares for pleasure, that it may find more of it. Wine is chemistry, but it is also culture. The bottle, the label, and the story around it can become part of what the drink seems to taste like. Brain scans show price can alter pleasure responses. The brain's reward system does not judge experience in isolation. It weighs meaning. When people believe something is valuable, regions involved in pleasure can respond more strongly. This has the air shown with price cues, where the same product can produce different reward activity, depending on what people think it costs. The finding is striking because it moves belief from opinion into measurable brain response. Value is not merely stamped onto an object. After the fact, it can shape the experience as it unfolds. A person may truly enjoy the higher-priced option more, even when it is secretly identical to the cheaper one. The brain is not just tasting, seeing, or touching. It is interpretive. It asks what the experience means and folds that meaning into pleasure. This helps explain luxury branding, collector culture, and the satisfaction of rare things. The reward is partly in the object and partly in the belief that the object matters. Color can change what people expect medicine to do. A pill's color can speak before the medicine does. People often associate warm colors with energy and cooler colors with calm. Those associations can influence what they expect a treatment to feel like. A brightly colored tablet may seem stronger or more stimulating. A softer shade may seem gentler. The active ingredient is still the main medical force, but appearance can shape anticipation. In placebo research, presentation can affect response because the brain uses every available cue to predict what will happen next. Color is one of the simplest cues. It can suggest speed, strength, danger, comfort, or sleepiness, depending on culture and experience. This is why medicine design is not only practical, it is psychological. The pill must be swallowed by a person whose brain is already interpreting it. A small circle of color can become part of the treatment story. The body may begin responding to that story before chemistry takes over. Red pills are often expected to feel stimulating across many settings. Red is associated with alertness, heat, urgency, and action. When that color appears on the tablet or capsule, some people may expect a stronger or more energizing effect. The expectation does not come from the pigment itself. It comes from learned association. Red appears in warning signs, sports uniforms, ripe fruit, and emotional signals of intensity. The brain carries these meanings forward. If a person takes a red pill, the color may suggest that something active is about to happen. In placebo studies, This kind of expectation can influence subjective experience. People may feel more awake or anticipate a stronger response, even when the pill contains no stimulant. Culture can shape the effect, so it is not universal in every personal place. Still, it reveals how easily the mind reads meaning into form. A medicine is never just a chemical. Its appearance can become a message the nervous system tries to understand. Blue pills are often expected to feel calming. Blue is commonly linked with coolness, rest, and quiet spaces. Because of those associations, a blue tablet may be expected to soothe rather than energize. The color can set the emotional tone of a treatment before it begins. This matters because expectation influences how people notice and interpret changes in the body. A person who expects calm may pay more attention to signs of relaxation. They may breathe more slowly or feel safer taking the medicine. A tablet that looks calming can fit the story of relief. The effect is not guaranteed, and cultural differences matter. In some settings, colors carry different meanings, but the general lesson is important. The brain is always reading symbols. It does not wait for laboratory analysis. It uses appearance memory and context to prepare the body. A small blue pill can become more than a delivery system. It can become a signal that the body is allowed to settle. Placebo buttons can make people feel more in control. Sometimes a button changes experience, even when it changes nothing else. In certain experiments or everyday situations, people are given a control that appears to influence an outcome. The control may be inactive, yet the feeling of agency can reduce distress. A pedestrian button that no longer controls a traffic light may still make waiting feel easier. A thermostat that is not fully connected may still make a room feel more tolerable. The important ingredient is perceived control. When people can take an action, even a small one, uncertainty becomes less helpless. The body may relax because it believes it has a way to respond. This is not only about being fooled, it is about the human need to participate in what happens next. Control changes the emotional meaning of discomfort. Waiting passively can feel trapped. Pressing a button can feel like doing something. The action may be symbolic, but the relief can still feel real. Control beliefs can reduce stress in uncertain situations. Uncertainty becomes more stressful when people believe they have no influence at all. A small sense of control can make the same situation easier to bear. This has been seen in studies of noise pain, waiting, and difficult tasks. When people believe they can stop, adjust, or influence unpleasant experience, their stress often decreases. They may not even use the control, knowing it is. There can be enough. The mind handles hardship differently. When escape or influence feels possible, the body does not have to brace in the same way. This helps explain why clear choices matter in hospitals, workplaces, schools, and family life. A person who is given a voice may feel calmer even when the outcome is still difficult. Control is not always complete. Often it is partial and imperfect. But belief in even limited control can restore dignity, tells the nervous system that the person is not merely being carried along by events. Learned helplessness showed belief can change behavior dramatically. In classic psychology experiments, animals exposed to unavoidable stress later failed to escape, even when escape became possible. They had learned that action did not matter. This finding became known as learned helplessness, and it changed how researchers thought about motivation. The lesson was sobering. Creature can stop trying not because escape is impossible now, but because past experience taught that effort was useless. In human, similar patterns can appear after repeated failure, trauma, or uncontrollable hardship. Person may not apply for a job, leave a damaging situation, or attempt a new skill because the inner forecast says nothing will change. The belief becomes a cage. What makes this so important that the cage may remain after the door has opened? Recovery often requires more than opportunity. It requires new evidence that action can work again. Learned helplessness shows that belief can reach deep into behavior, shaping whether effort even begins. Animals may stop trying when escape feels impossible. A striking lesson from behavioral research is that giving up can be learned. When an animal repeatedly experiences an unpleasant situation, it cannot control. Its nervous system may stop preparing active responses later. Even when a route to safety exists, the animal may remain still. From outside, this can look like weakness from inside the system. It is adaptation to a world that seemed uncontrollable. Trying it once failed, so the body conserved effort. This response has parallels in human life. People who have faced repeated defeat may stop seeing openings that others notice. Their perception of possibility has been trained downward. The tragedy is that the environment may change before the belief changes. A new chance appears, but the mind does not trust it. This is why supportive experiences must sometimes be repeated. The body needs to learn that action can matter again. Hope may return through small escapes, each one teaching the nervous system a different future. Belief in control can restore effort after setbacks, after failure. The crucial question is often whether a person believes the next action can make a difference. If the answer is no, effort collapses. If the answer is yes, even weekly effort can return. This belief does not require certainty. It only requires a small opening. A student who failed an exam may study differently if they believe a new strategy can help. A patient in rehabilitation may continue exercises if they believe progress is still possible. A worker after rejection may apply again if they believe the outcome is not fixed. Control beliefs help convert disappointment into adjustment. They tell the mind to search for levers: what can be changed, what can be practiced, what can be asked for. This turns failure into a problem rather than a sentence. The belief that action still matters is one of the quiet engines of recovery. It brings the person back into relationship with the future. False memories can form when suggestion feels convincing. The mind can create memories for events that never happened, especially when suggestion is repeated with confidence. A person may be told that they were lost in a shopping center as a child, or that a certain detail appeared in a scene. At first, they may doubt it. Then imagination begins filling gaps. A visual fragment appears, a feeling attaches, the story gains texture. Eventually, the person may experience it as memory. This does not mean they are lying. It means memory can be constructed from belief, imagery, and social pressure. The brain is designed to make meaning from incomplete information, usually that helps us. But under suggestion, the same ability can mislead. False memory research has important consequences for therapy, law, and family stories. It teaches humility about certainty. A vivid memory may feel like a window into the past, yet sometimes it is more like a painting made later from hints, expectations. And trust, eyewitness confidence can arise even when memory is wrong. In courtrooms, confidence can be persuasive. A witness who speaks with certainty may seem more reliable than one who hesitates. Yet memory research has shown that confidence can grow after the fact. Feedback, repeated questioning, or simply retelling the story can make a witness feel more certain even when the details are inaccurate. This is dangerous because confidence and accuracy are not always tied together. A person may misidentify someone and become more convinced after hearing that they chose the suspect. Investigators expected the memory hardens. The belief becomes stronger by the time testimony is given. The witness may be completely sincere and completely wrong. This has played a role in wrongful convictions. The lesson is profound. The mind does not store every event as a fixed recording. It updates, rehearses, and interprets. Confidence can be part of that reconstruction in matters of justice. Belief must be treated carefully because a steady voice can still carry an error. Leading questions can quietly rewrite what people think they saw. The question can change your memory by suggesting what should be found there. If someone is asked, "How fast were the cars going when they smashed?" they may remember the accident as more violent than if the word hit had been used. The difference is small, but the effect can be real. Language guides attention backward. It tells the mind which version of the past to search for. Once that search begins, memory may adjust to fit the implication. People can even remember objects that were never present if a question assumes they were there. This is why investigators must be careful with wording. A witness may not notice the suggestion entering the memory. They simply experience the revised scene as remembered truth. The power of a leading question is that it does not announce itself as influence. It feels like inquiry, yet hidden inside, it is a belief about what happened, and the mind may accept the invitation. The Mandela effect shows memory can become socially contagious. Large groups of people sometimes share the same mistaken memory. They may remember a phrase, logo, scene, or public detail differently from the record. This is often called the Mandela effect. Its name comes from people who falsely remembered Nelson Mandela dying before his actual death. The phenomenon is fascinating because the error does not remain private. It spreads through conversation internet forums and shared surprise. When one person describes the false memory, others feel recognition. That recognition can strengthen the mistake. The mind thinks, I remember that too. Shared confidence makes the memory feel even more real. The effect does not require anything supernatural. It reveals how memory is shaped by patterns, assumptions, and social reinforcement. People often remember the gist of something rather than exact details. If many minds make a similar reconstruction, the arrow can feel collective. The past becomes partly social, not because events change, but because remembering is something humans often do together. Cognitive dissonance can make people defend difficult choices after a hard choice. The mind wants the decision to make sense. If someone sacrifices time, money, or comfort for something, they may feel tension if the outcome is disappointing. That tension is called cognitive dissonance. It appears when beliefs, actions, and evidence do not fit together comfortably. To reduce the discomfort, people may change the story. They may decide the sacrifice was worth it, the rejected option was worse, or the outcome is better than it looks. This can happen after purchases, relationships, jobs, and public commitments. The more costly the choice, the stronger the need to justify it may become. This is not simply stubbornness. It is the mind trying to preserve coherence. Living with contradiction is exhausting. The leaf helps smooth the internal conflict. The danger is that people may defend a poor choice longer than they should. The gift is that dissonance can also push honest reflection when the mind is brave enough to face it. Beliefs can shift when actions conflict with self-image. People often assume belief comes first and action follows. Sometimes the order reverses. A person may act in a way that clashes with their view of themselves, then adjust their beliefs to reduce discomfort. Someone who thinks of themselves as generous may become more generous after making a public commitment. Someone who argues for a position may begin to believe it more strongly, especially if they were not forced. The mind watches behavior and asks what kind of person would do that. Then it updates the self-story. This is why small actions can matter. They become evidence. A person who writes each day may begin to believe they are a writer. The person who keeps showing up for exercise may begin to believe they are active. Action gives belief something to stand on. The self is not only discovered inside thought, it is partly built from what we repeatedly do, then accept as proof of who we are. Conspiracy beliefs often grow from a craving for certainty. When events feel frightening or chaotic, uncertainty can be painful. Conspiracy beliefs can offer a kind of order. They say that confusion has a hidden cause, that someone is in control, and that the believer has seen through the surface. This can feel empowering compared with helpless ambiguity. The belief may connect scattered details into a single story. That story can be gripping because it gives purpose to randomness. It also creates a sharp boundary between those who know and those who do not. The danger is that the belief can become self-sealing. Evidence against it may be treated as part of the cover-up. Doubt becomes proof. The craving for certainty then traps the person inside an explanation that cannot be tested fairly. Understanding this does not excuse harmful claims. It helps explain their poor in an uncertain world. A false pattern can feel more comforting than no pattern at all. Uncertainty makes the mind search harder for patterns. The brain dislikes not knowing what will happen next. In uncertain situations, it becomes more active in searching for clues. This can be useful. A rustle in tall grass may matter. A change in someone's tone may signal trouble. Pattern detection helps us learn, predict, and survive, but when uncertainty is high, the search can become overactive. The mind may connect events that are unrelated. It may see intention where there is only coincidence. It may treat random clusters as signs. This is why stressful times often produce rumors, magical thinking, and confident explanations built on thin evidence. The mind would rather have a pattern than remain suspended in not knowing. A pattern gives the body something to prepare for, yet not every pattern is real. Wisdom requires patience with uncertainty. Sometimes the bravest belief is not a dramatic explanation. It is the willingness to wait for better evidence. Humans can see meaning in randomness when stakes feel high. A coin lands heads several times, and suddenly it feels as if tailies must be due. A person thinks of a friend just before a message arrives, and the timing feels meaningful. When the stakes are high, these ordinary coincidences can become even more compelling. The mind is built to notice connections, because connections can matter in hunting, weather, illness, and social life. A true pattern could mean survival, but the same ability can create false meaning from random events. Psychologists call this epiphania, when people perceive patterns where none exist. It is not a defect reserved for a few. It is part of being human. Randomness is emotionally unsatisfying, especially when outcomes matter. The mind wants reasons, it wants signals. It wants the world to answer back. This can lead to superstition, lucky numbers, and personal signs. Sometimes the pattern is real. Sometimes it is the mind making uncertainty feel less empty. Belief can turn coincidence into a personal message. A song plays at the exact moment someone is thinking of a lost friend. A number appears again and again during a difficult week. A stranger says a phrase that answers a private worry. Coincidences like these can feel as though the world is speaking directly. The belief that they are meaningful can bring comfort, courage, or a sense of guidance. Psychologically, the mind is linking an outer event with an inner state. The event may be random, but the timing makes it emotionally charged. Once meaning attaches, the coincidence becomes memorable. Other ordinary moments fade, while this one glows in memory. This is how personal signs are born. They do not need to be objectively designed to affect the life. Their power comes from interpretation. A coincidence can become a turning point if it helps someone act, breathe, forgive, or continue. Belief gives the event a voice, and the person hears something they needed, or can make beliefs feel larger than the self, or appears when the mind meets something vast enough to exceed its ordinary frame. It may happen under a dark sky in a cathedral, during a scientific discovery, while holding a newborn child. And all the self can feel smaller, but not necessarily diminished. Instead, life feels connected to something wider. This can change belief. People may become more open to mystery, more willing to cooperate, or more aware of the limits of their own knowledge, or interrupts the usual sense of control. It says that the world is bigger than the private concerns circling in the mind. That feeling can be deeply calming. It can also be intellectually powerful because it makes certainty soften. A person may leave an all-filled moment with new questions. They may feel that their beliefs need more room or does not provide a single answer. It expands the space in which answers are allowed to grow. Scientific belief changes when better evidence arrives. Science is powerful because it allows belief to be corrected. A scientific idea is not meant to be protected forever. It is meant to face observation, measurement, criticism, and revision. This makes scientific belief different from many ordinary beliefs. Its strength comes from its willingness to change. A theory can die in research for decades, then be refined when new evidence appears. Old models are not always thrown away entirely. Sometimes they become special cases within a larger understanding. This happened many times in the history of astronomy, medicine, physics, and biology. The process can be uncomfortable because people become attached to explanations. Scientists are human too. They can resist, debate, and defend. Yet the method keeps asking the same question. What does the evidence show? That question gives science its humility. It turns belief into a tool rather than a monument. The most reliable understanding is not the one that never changes. It is the one that knows how to change. Well, the power of belief is strongest when mind and body agree. A belief becomes especially powerful when it is not only thought, but felt, practiced, and embodied. The mind may say, "I am safe," but the body must learn safety too. The mind may say, "I can do this," but action must give that statement evidence. When thought and body move together, belief gains weight. It becomes posture, breath, attention, and behavior. This is why repeated experience matters so much. A single encouraging idea may inspire someone for a moment. A lift pattern can reshape what feels possible. The body asks for proof in its own language. It learns through repetition, sensation, movement, and outcome. When belief is matched by experience, the nervous system begins to trust it. That is when change can feel deeper than motivation. It becomes familiar. The power of belief is not the thought alone rules everything. It is that thought can guide action, action can teach the body, and the body can help belief become real. And so we come to the end of our journey through the power of belief. Tonight we explored how a thought can become more than a thought. We saw how expectation can shape pain, how trust can change the feeling of care, and how confidence can help the body use what it already knows. We wandered through classrooms, clinics, memories, rituals, and the shared stories that hold entire societies together. Belief is not magic. It does not replace medicine, evidence, or effort, but it does something quietly astonishing. It gives meaning to experience. It helps the brain decide what matters. It can soften fear, strengthen hope, and guide the body toward a different response. Even now, as the facts begin to fade, you might notice how belief lives close to everyday life. In the way a familiar voice can calm you, in the way a small routine can steady you, in the way the future can feel different when the mind believes there is still a path forward. So for now, let all of that become simple. Let the ideas settle gently, like dust in a still room. There is nothing more to solve, nothing more to hold on to. Let your shoulders soften. Let your hands rest. Let your breathing find its own slow rhythm. If you enjoyed this gentle journey, you're welcome to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. And if you happen to still be awake, another calm exploration should be waiting for you on the screen. But for now, allow your thoughts to loosen. Let the day fall, quiet you behind you, the mind grow lighter, and let the body remember that rest is safe. Sleep well and good night.